Hello everyone and welcome to the final round of the Wednesday Sprint GT3 Championship here at RCI. I'm your host Austin Devonshire, and joining me in the box even on broadcasting and co-coms, the big double header is, it's the man himself, it's Jesse Lee. Jesse, final round of the season. We're here at Valencia. It's round 6. We've had some, we've had some hectic races. It's been a long championship. Well, how are you doing? What's your thoughts on this so far?
Well, hello, Austin. Hello, everybody out there at home, and welcome into the finale. Today, we've got a championship to decide, Austin. That's always very exciting when we get close to the end, like we are here in Valencia today, and we still have a championship left to decide. What do I expect to see today? I think we're going to see a lot of off-tracks. This racetrack lends itself to giving you off tracks, and if you get too racy with some of the other cars, you're going to find yourself maybe in trouble of making it all the way to the wall. Of course, the section that we're entering right now, we're following Jake Howling, always a bit of a problem with hitting the curbs. Today is going to be no the less different. Some of these cars too, Austin, they behave quite a bit differently on some of these curbs than others. Some can ride them, some cannot. It's going to be an interesting day out there here for the decider.
That's a really good point. I mean, we've seen the Mustang, its debut season here at RCI, and it's the first time we've seen this car out, and we've seen that, especially at Imola, it's kind of been munching curbs throughout most of the season, all whilst being a bit of a handful. Speaking of being a handful, there's a 621 Porsche getting a little bit out of shape there, running on the outlap. But yeah, it really all comes down to this. The Pro Class Championship, basically, I think at this point is decided. However, in the Silver Class, between Ollie Mulder and Nicole Fox, it's all still to play for.
Sure is. Cars streaming through, making their first laps. Peter Varga, the first to do so, was a 32.855. Adam Carlisle comes across the line, and it's a 32.365 as Howling comes through. And Raphael Huell briefly at the top at a 32 dead. Ollie Mulder does him one better. It's a 32.032. It takes provisional pole by 43/100ths of a second. John Dalton slots in to P3 for the time being as more and more cars set their opening laps. Joe Dauber goes to the top of the heap, and it's a huge lap. It's a 30.817.
Yeah, that's, I mean, 1.2 seconds ahead, and it looked like Mulder's time was already pretty fast. So it's putting Mulder on the right foot to kind of keep that championship hope alive against Nicole Fox. Nicole Fox yet to set a valid lap time in the 314 of McLaren. Dauber being, I mean, I think at this point in time, I think it's safe to say the championship winner overall for the Pro Class. So he's basically the benchmark. He's kind of the one that everyone else on the field wants to beat. And yes, it's a smaller field than we've had for most of the season so far. A lot of drivers kind of think with everything being decided that's kind of that. But 18 drivers still sticking it in for the final race of the season. So yeah, you keep up with the benchmark, you see what's going on around you, and then, you compare yourself to the championship winner, and you know what your pace is going to be at towards the end of the season. Peter Varga crossing the line in P6 with a 132.1. Nicole Fox going one better than Ollie Mulder by only 0.075 behind Dauber. So, and Ben Rees not far behind, and Howling not far behind yet. That too.
Ollie Mulder coming to the line. It was an improvement, but not nearly enough to trouble Nicole Fox. In fact, Jake Howling now goes P2 in the Silver Class. They've parked it on the exit of turn number 1. They'll get service to that car and go back out and give it another go. We talked about Nicole Fox just a moment ago, one of the drivers involved in the championship fight in the Silver Class, and they're well up in there, Austin. They are in the pro field, and they're on, well, in Nicole's case, the next round car is on the overall podium at this point. That is rarefied air. That's good company to keep. And what better way to outrun your class if you're outrunning everybody at the same time? Looks good to me.
Exactly. It's I mean, that's a way of guaranteeing the win, isn't it? So, I mean, where's Mulder? Mulder down in P8 right now, and really needs to have a good race. And as well as Nicole, for Mulder to keep that championship hope alive, kind of needs Nicole to have kind of the opposite, a bit of a bad race. But we've seen it so many times before with two 30-minute races on this Wednesday format. You tend to have one race that's maybe a little bit more calm and a race that's a little bit more hectic. So never say never at this point. We don't know what's going to happen until the races actually kind of conclude. So Adam Carlisle crossing the line, sets a new fastest, but not able to make any way through the field. John Dalton coming through, currently P11. They're going to improve on their time. Let's see what the time is when they cross, and that's going to send them up to P4. Huge improvement, 131.1 overall, half a second behind Ben Rees, who's currently holding provisional pole, has gone faster than Dauber, and yet Nicole Fox still only 0.3 behind, so not far behind at all.
Close racing on the racetrack. We watch the chats as we always do here on RCI TV, both on YouTube and Twitch here today for the finale at Valencia, the championship decider, or deciders, I should probably say, as we have two 30-minute races coming your way. Hexa said in the YouTube chat, what car do you think is going to be most suitable for this track here today? Historically, the Ferrari has done quite well here at Valencia, something that we've been made apparent of in recent times. The Porsche, I don't know how good that will actually be long term. I think it's pretty decent around here. The wild card in today's race, however, is a car that we've never seen race here at Valencia before, Austin. That's the Mustang.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think whatever car Cormac's in is the quickest one. I mean, he's unusually good around here, but but no, you're right. The the Mustang, it is the wild card. On paper, it's got a lot of strong attributes. You know, again, we said earlier, it's good on the curbs. It seems like it's fairly straightforward in terms of how it kind of lasts. It's done pretty well this championship, you know, on a consistent basis. I mean, especially when we had Daly take, I think it was the first 4 races with the Mustang. So it's definitely got some pace, and you know, we've obviously had a bit of feedback from some of the drivers, and apparently, yeah, of course, the Mustang is insane on the brakes. It's got a lot of strong attributes. However, it's also a handful. It traction control. It kicks in heavy but late. It does let the rear kind of slide around, and again, that's another attribute we have seen is some of the drivers struggling to kind of keep this car in check. So. And it's too early. It's too early to say. It really is. Rafael Kuhl coming in P7. So. We're in the second Mustang, so let's take a look. There's 5 Mustangs on the field. Raphael being the highest, the highest up the grid, 7/10 behind the 505 Aston. But again, a car that's got very similar characteristics to the BMW, and Shipston in the BMW's P5. So surely that Mustang's got more in it.
One car we haven't mentioned thus far has been Reese's Aston Martin, that 505 car. Aston Martin has a sort of a history in ACC of being the everyman, the average car, the sort of median of all things, and today that's not the case. Reese with that 30.602 sitting top of the heap in front of Dauber, Fox, Dalton, and Shipston, and you gotta like that brand parity. So the long answer to Hex's question is there is no favored manufacturer today, because we have, 5 manufacturers inside the top 5, and 6 of the top 7 are all different cars as well. I would have expected Lamborghini to do, that was a little bit of exactly when we came on air, what I was talking about. Some cars react to that particular bump a little bit better than others. Rafael Huel lost time doing that, significantly so, but has made it all back there on the final turn coming down the pit straight. This is still going to be an improvement from 2/10 down to 2/10 up. Huel goes P4.
Yeah, huge improvement, and only 0.4 of a second behind Reese. So on with a pretty good chance of at least kind of keeping some good points here tonight. But I beat the race. Was spectating here. Yeah, it's 1.4 seconds behind. Yeah, you're right about the Lamborghini. Characteristically, it's got a lot in common with the Ferrari, but you know, it'd be interesting to see kind of what more that could do. I mean, my eyes are on the Porsche as well. I mean, the Porsche has always been a really strong car in ACC since basically day one. But I do want to point out something interesting with Ben Reese. You know, the last 2 or 3 weeks now, they've really taken the fight straight to Dauber. The pace on that Aston's been kind of insane. It's almost been like a switch that's been flicked. You know, it's at the start of the season. You know, Reese was quick, but you know, struggling in terms of results. But the last few weeks, they've been on for challenging for podiums, and I think that might be the big battle here tonight.
Nicole Fox goes P2, 30.627, slots them in that spot, but for just how long? The track certainly getting faster, the drivers getting their eye in one way or another, everybody improving here. Joe Dauber trying to do the same, and does, but isn't quite enough to topple Nicole Fox from P2. But we have 3 cars within a 3/4 of a second bracket at the top of this field. Reese leads Fox and Dauber, but they're 73/100ths off of each other.
That's nothing, is it? If you overlaid the 2 cars, there'd be absolutely nothing in that. So, I mean, again, it goes to show as well just how quick that 130.6 actually is. You got multiple cars on track, fairly, you know, only 18 cars overall, so fairly clear track despite the congestion here for Kevin Boss coming out of the pit lane. Almost making contact there with Howling. I believe that was. It's Howling and that's Howling and Rafael Kuhl, and a little bit of a cluster coming out the pit lane.
Woo, that's scary. You got to pay attention to that. Usually in the race tonight, that's not going to be a problem, as we do not have a mandatory stop. 2 30-minute races, as we've said, not a big deal at all. But in a normal race setting, we've had collisions there in the past, both in the dry and in the rain. So scary moment there. Hopefully after qualifying, that will no longer be an issue.
I mean, as long as the drivers bring a change of Nomex, that's kind of all you need at that point, really. But no, Keith Whittle, currently 3 seconds behind, seemingly like they're struggling a little bit around here at Valencia tonight, but about to cross the line. So, I mean, is this going to be any improvement on terms of position for the 156, the 157 Mustang coming across the line? It's going to be an improvement, a 132.8, but isn't, it's 7/10 faster than the last time. But it's not going to be fast enough to move up from that bottom place. So Ollie Mulder, especially, again, another one to watch, needs to maximise the qualifying here tonight to keep that championship hope alive. Coming across the line, it will not be a new fastest time, but not far off, a 5:10 versus a 5:37. So very consistent in terms of times, but kind of languishing down in P10, whilst championship contender Nicole Fox in P3. Joe Dauber taking provisional pole once again with a 130.452, and I mean that's almost 2/10 up on Reese. So we saw how quick Reese's time was, and Dauber's just responded, I think, Jesse.
Yeah, they sure did. I didn't notice that was happening because they didn't need not even a 10th, and that barely shows up on the timing and scoring when that goes through. That's how little they needed. They actually got closer to 2/10 on that lap, and even so, that shows for us here in the timing and scoring booth as not insignificant but not major as well. Joe Dauber, though, goes back to the point, getting it done here late in quali. He's going to take that car into the pit lane for rebound racing, and that's going to be his quali done. He's going to set on a 30.452, and he's going to let some of these other drivers deal with it. Now, this is unfortunate. Ben Rees for Bottle Job Racing, they are on a lap that is up and would potentially trouble Joe. The problem is, Austin, it's not valid. This is going to be the end of their qualifying. They're not going to get to answer back.
No, so that's basically, I don't want to say guaranteed P2. There are still cars out on track, but Nicole Fox, Raphael Gill, and John Dalton all in the pits. So Dalton actually just receiving the checkered, Howling receiving the checkered, and actually moving up into P4 overall for that 621 Porsche. So able to sort of trouble the top just a little bit. But no, you're right. Reese is not going to have any chance really of improving up to P1. So going into the pits now, which is, again, understandable, with only a handful of cars left to actually set a lap. So Keith Whittle, well, both the Whittles, Texiera and Shipston, still out on track.
Yeah, they sure are. None of them are up on their times. All three of the cars are down somewhat massively, a half a second or more. Richard Whittle for Whittle's Wizards is going to return to the pit lane in style here. Bruno Teixeira is going to abandon the lap just shy of the line, and that will leave the only car out there on track is the Whittle's Wizards 157 of Keith Whittle. That Mustang is on a valid lap, but down half a second here. While we finish up qualifying, just want to say hello to you in chat. Hello, Mike Redford, who reckons it's going to be a Joe Dauber double tonight. They're going to win race 1 and 2, or so says Mr. Redford in chat. Daniel Prinzen, Fernando Gomez in chat, Joe Dauber as well joining us from the provisional poll, as well admiring some of the drifting results of qualifying on your screen. Austin, anything stand out to you?
I mean, of course, Dauber. I mean, I kind of expect it from a man who's essentially just won the championship. But I mean, Reese isn't that far behind. Only what, a tenth and a half. So could be a really strong fight. But also joining Nicole Fox. Nicole Fox definitely a standout for me in terms of qualifying here tonight. And again, I think we might. Picture the scenario. Nicole needs to have a good race to kind of keep that championship up with Ollie. But if Nicole finds himself fighting kind of at the front, and Ollie finds a way to kind of carve through the field, we could be seeing a bit of a fight here for the Silver Championship. So I mean, don't write anything off.
I certainly will not, and we'll show you exactly what we're talking about with the championship. It's a close one in the silver class, but Austin, let's start off with the pros.
Exactly. Let's start with the pros. So Joe Dauber in first place with 507 points. Marco Badowski in second with 457. Raphael Huel P3 with 394 points. Jordan Daly P4. Fifth place is John Dalton. Sixth is Ben Reese. Seventh is Nico Quizma. Eighth is Tom Shipston. 9 Richard Withall, and 10th is Grim Lilith. In P11, we've got Ted Edwards with 247 points. Mike Redford in P12 with 211. Jan Manso in P13. Matt Malcolm in P14 with 86 points. And Kevin Boss in 15th place with 0 points. I think they actually have just signed up for the championship, if I'm not mistaken, Jesse. I've not seen them. I don't think I've seen them out this season so far. So anyone else with a dash next to their name has signed out. Moving on to the silver class cars, this is where it gets really interesting because Nicole Fox in first place with 506 points, but trailing behind with 486 is Ollie Mulder in P2. P3 is Peter Varga with 419. Bruno Teixeira in P4. Fifth place is Martin Foster. Sixth place is Jake Howling. Seventh place is Adam Carlisle. Eighth is Peter Lundquist. Ninth is Trevor Byford. And 10th is Keith Whittle. 11th is Ibiza Racer, and everyone with a dash next to the name has signed out. Looking over to the YouTube chat, Kevin Boss confirming that they've only signed up for the final round and was on holiday before. So welcome to the championship, Kevin. Thanks for joining us.
Well, you know what they say, better late than never, and joining the fun and the festivities on the final weekend, that's all part of the charm of RCI. If you're uninitiated and you don't know, you can sign up at any point for our championships, even if it's just a run the last round of the series. And some people do, and that's kind of the magic of it all, is you don't have to commit to the full championship if you don't want to, or if you, in some cases, cannot. You are allowed just to join us for the rounds that you can do. Sign out after that, of course. And we'll see you next time. Of course, a lot of championships this time of year getting underway for the summer season, starting this weekend. Of course, the Wheelie Slow Sunday Grand Prix, still time to sign up for that. Those are 2-hour races coming at you on Sunday afternoons or evenings, depending on what part of the world you are in. On top of that, the new Monday championship starts this Monday as well. Pretty usual suspects there. And you can check that out, of course, on the website. Night Owl does continue season 18 as well. And just a lot going on, probably a lot more than that. That's just off the top of my head what I was thinking of. But a lot going on here at RCI.
Yeah, especially with the Night Owl. There we go.
Oh my goodness, what? There we go.
You didn't say it right, Jesse. I'm disappointed.
Didn't. Yeah, well, it is Night Owl after all. You're absolutely correct.
Oh, I really need to get more involved in Night Owl. I wish my schedule was more consistent, but you know, that's a really good point you brought up. You know, with not having to commit to a full season, maybe I might actually be able to get out on track for the first time in so long. The 505 Ben Reese. Aston, again, lovely livery actually. We've seen it all season, but the yellow and the pink does go really well. Speaking of good liveries as well, and liveries always nice. Seeing Nicole Fox with the pink, the pink, blue, and the white. Again, color combination always works.
Yes, indeed, a lot of fantastic colored cars on the track here tonight. Custom liveries, of course, for a lot of the drivers. In-game liveries for a lot of the others. Now, that's interesting. We got Nicole Fox's name on Howling's car because they race together. They're teammates most of the time, but they're rivals. They're competitors out there here today.
I mean, if you're racing with your friends, do you? I always find that I get even more aggressive, honestly, if I'm racing with people that I know. I don't know. I feel like it's when you know someone, you kind of know how they race, and it means that you can just get a little bit closer than you would, you know, with in regards to anybody else.
I think you take it less hard when it's somebody you know that you're racing, or maybe it's a teammate, and there's a little bit more understanding there, perhaps. between drivers, a little bit more camaraderie. I certainly feel like if it's somebody you don't deal with on a day-to-day basis, then you might take it a little bit harder if there was contact or if they race you hard. Certainly, though, if it's your teammate and you get into an accident, that's just an extra blow, though, because you think, well, it's the one person on the grid that should probably be giving me a little bit of a break, right? But oftentimes we see no team orders in racing like this. So you got to keep that in mind as well, that everybody's out for themselves. And typically they do a good job of it, but you get it a bit wrong, and then maybe some questions asked in that case.
Well, I'd be straight on Twitter writing a beware post. I'm
Oh,
joking.
my
I'm
goodness.
joking. That's
Oh, Austin with the twit longer.
Oh, no,
dear.
that's no, no, yeah, no. When you're racing with your friends, I feel like there is a bit more leniency there, especially if it's kind of like, I don't know. I have some friends that I call sort of our teammates. I call it scrim partners. Like when we're practicing for big events, we'll kind of like run side by side, and we know exactly how each other races. We know how close we can get. Exactly where each of us is faster or slower. And we kind of like, we've kind of like sort of bounced off of each other so much that, when it comes to facing each other out on track, it makes it that much easier. So I wonder if Nicole and Howling have done that here tonight. But seeing a lot of drivers, I do race together. I know Carlisle's also involved in the same sort of in some of the same leagues, and yeah, the racing there is always interesting, and they really bring that to RCI as well.
Yeah, they certainly do. And you talk about teammates, you talk about rivals. There's some rivalry in the field as well, as you would certainly expect as the cars go out on the pace lap here. One pace lap, and we will come around to get the green flag on race number one. 2 30-minute races tonight in qualifying that you just witnessed. That sets the grid for both races, so we will not do qualifying again. We typically have seen every single time that we have done racing like this, one race ends up being more calm and collected. One race is absolute chaos and bedlam, and there's no rhyme or reason to which is which. We've noticed a lot of the time it's race 2 that is crazy and chaotic, but at Kyalami, all the way back at the start of the series, it was race 1 that was the chaotic one, if memory serves, but it goes back and forth. Last week at Donington Park, though, race 2 was probably the most chaotic race we've ever seen.
Yeah, that was a time. But no, you're right. One race is coming collected. The other race is where everyone gets collected. It seems to be the way it goes. But I mean, looking through the chat, Dorber saying the race pace between themselves and Reese looks identical, so should be a good one. Looking like I agree with that one wholeheartedly, and those all eyes are going to be towards the front. Kevin Ross is only going to send up for the final round. There's quite a bit of support for respective teams in the chat too. So is that Ben Reese that's off in the 505? It is. Going for a little excursion through the gravel there, but it's good to see all of the support for various teams in the chat. So thank you for joining us tonight, and we're about to we're just getting ready for the green light.
Hello to Rich, Ada Wolf, Vandervalde, everyone in chat. Oh, they're doing ooh-woos. I got you, Jim. Ooh. Oh, see, I talked over yours. Do it again. Ooh-woo. There you go. A couple of those tonight. I'll work on mine. I've been working on mine. I've been getting, progress is slow, people, okay? You don't rush perfection. But we started with 17 cars in practice, by the way. We're up to 18. A late joiner has put us back where we sort of expected to be as the leaders take the pit straight at pace speed for the final time, getting ready to go. Race number 1 of the final round. Austin, take it away.
I mean, I was waiting for the green light, and there it is. And who's got to start? That's one of the Porsches. That's Dalton and the Porsche getting a lightning start, coming through in between Howling and Nicole. Nicole moves to the side to block off, but at the front, Dorber keeping the lead. Raphael Kuhl racing alongside, and that's Howling that's gone very, very wide there at turn 1. Raphael able to sort of squeeze on through. Where are they in terms of pace here? They are ahead of, according to the timesheet, in 5th place still, but still behind the likes of Howling and tucking in, and that's the other Aston Martin in the background. That's Ollie Mulder making a move onto Texera and working their way through the field. We said that they needed to do this. They need to do this to catch up to Nicole and keep that championship hope alive. And if any driver needs a good race here tonight, it is Ollie Mulder. And so they're definitely one of the ones to watch. But up at the front, there's no change of position, Jesse.
No real change of position there. Ben Reese looked like they were going to have a look down into turn one, thought better of it, actually probably backed out of it. They could have probably forced the issue, decided not to, and I enjoy watching drivers think about it rather than just force themselves into a bad situation. That's what Ben Reese did there. You heard Joe say it themselves that they expect race pace based on probably practice and some practice server times to be incredibly similar between Joe and Ben, and I would probably tend to agree with that. Joe Dauber wins races for Rebound Racing, but he's not flashy. He doesn't do it like that. He will race people and win races. Oh, a little bit of contact there. Peter Varga and Lundqvist, I believe, having a little coming together in the final couple of corners. No real major incident there, but Joe Dauber doesn't win races. He wins races often, but he doesn't do it in a flashy way. He just gets on with it. He'll take a couple of a second gap, and he will win with that gap. He'll manage it the entire race and get the job done. Peter Varga back under attack from Lundqvist here after losing the position. Peter Lundqvist not willing to just let that go and gives up a fight there for just a little bit. So if you see Ben Reese for Bottle Job Racing really close to Joe and you think, oh, maybe Joe's struggling, I don't really think that's the case ever, Austin. I just think Dauber manages the gap a little bit more than most.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because you've got drivers, we saw it with Daly and Kyle Army that, was it race 2, final lap, final corner, going for that send on the, I can't remember who it was, who wound up coming P2. It was one of the Ferraris that had made a mistake in the second to last corner, but still, Daly getting aggressive. We see it a lot from the likes of Verstappen as well, very very professional, but very kind of aggressive when they need to be. And I think you're right, we don't ever really see that kind of aggression from Dauber. Raphael Huell finding a way around Jake Howling, and move's not done yet. Still side by side going down the pit lane, but the acceleration for that Mustang, we've always said how fast at a straight line that Mustang is, and just proving it now. And it's against the Porsche. It's not really the it's kind of two sides of the same coin. But that will allow Raphael to take up to P5. Ollie Mulder P8, just as I'm kind of keeping an eye on that fight. So Ollie's made up 2 places in the first couple of corners, but still languishing within the top 10, but needs to be further up the field to really do any kind of damage. Ben Reese and Joe Dauber pulling away from the pack, 1.5 seconds ahead of Nicole Fox. Nicole Fox pulling out their own space in front of Dalton as well. So everyone just kind of finding their own place right now, kind of isolating their own fights. And I think this wants to be a calm race, Jesse, but it's going to get more interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say that this has definitely started out as more of the calm race, which is good news for the drivers settling in to this first 30-minute round. But that's bad news, knowing that there's potential chaos on the way. The only real contact we have here, this was Jake Howling and Nicole Fox. This is lap 1, turn 1, and that's how Howling got sent all the way out there. Just a little touch, and not a whole lot of value was lost there. Nicole Fox disappeared up the road. Eventually, Howling has settled in to P2, but that was for the lead in silver into turn number 1, and they were just about able to settle it. More significant contact here with Keith Whittle, and I believe this is with the 808. Oh yeah, just a log jam there. Trevor Byford in the 808 getting a huge piece of that. Gridlock traffic.
It's a bit of a bump draft. It's fine, but it's funny. We're talking about teammates and how hard you race them, and if there is contact between the two. And lo and behold, it happens between Nicole and Howling. So it's kind of a little bit of irony on the track here today. But yeah, looking at things, Ollie Mulder, which planning to move for Texera, definitely seems to be having the pace to kind of keep up and looking at making a move. But again, around here it seems quite difficult to do that. I mean, I don't know too much about Valencia, Jesse. I've not driven the track myself personally. It's kind of one it's kind of flown under my radar a little bit. It's one I've never really taken too much of an interest in. I'm sorry to say, but. It does seem like there's very limited, like on a lot of these tracks, overtaking opportunities do seem quite limited. So Ollie's got the work cut out for them this race. Still 24 minutes left though.
Well, let's take you on a trip around Valencia then. Let's get everybody familiar with this racetrack, the newest track in ACC, outside of course, the Nürburgring, of course. And you'll see a problem with this racetrack really, really quickly, and that's that almost every corner here around Valencia acts a little bit like a blind corner. So let's count them as we ride on board the Unicorns Shoot Lasers 28 that Ollie Mulder is driving. Turn 1, that's mostly sighted. We won't count that as a blind corner, but we'll get up to turn number 2, and that is just about a hairpin. It's not a true 180 hairpin, but it's as close as you can get without being so. That's a blind corner. This is turn 2. A lot of going wide here. A lot of going wide here as well. You'll see what I'm talking about. This also technically a little bit of a blind issue. This one definitely so. Can't spot the exit. Easy to go wide. Ollie thought about doing it right there. Catches it. Loses just a tiny bit of time. Next corner. Can't spot the exit. Where is it? Where is it? It's way out here. Luckily, there's enough runoff room that you can figure that out. And then you really get into the trouble spot. You want to talk about blind corners? You want to talk about difficult corners to race through? We'll start off with this one. You cannot see where you're exiting here. You get this little dog leg. That's fine. But this is the bigger problem. The double right-hander here, completely unsighted when you're trying to race somebody else. That could be a problem. Now, this isn't a blind corner coming up, but the exit's difficult because you can't see the curb that'll kill you, which is right about there. And if you go a little bit too far, that is a huge problem, and you can get sort of tunnel vision in this part of the racetrack. Everybody brakes a little bit differently in the final turn. That's why we saw the stacking effect earlier on. The cars running into the back of each other. Nearly happened just in front of Mulder with Howling and Teixeira. That's a lap around here. I'd say about half of those corners, you're just doing it on feeling.
Yeah, that last corner to me feels a lot like Brooklands at Silverstone. Actually, just kind of like how it kind of opens up. You can kind of take an early apex, but compromise, keep the entry speed, but compromise the exit, or you can compromise the entrance and kind of take it wider and run the car slightly wider there as well. And I mean, personally, I think for me, taking the later apex would be the quickest thing, especially given the fact that it's a long straight. You want to put the power down as soon as you can. Mulder almost losing it in that Unicorn Shoot Lasers car. But yeah, it's quite a dynamic track. It looks like you say, with a lot of curbs, a lot of variation there. So not the easiest track to keep up. But luckily, it is only a 30-minute race. So the mental resilience, you don't need quite as much of it. You just gotta keep the fight going for as long as you can. But Jesse, one point I want to make is, if Unicorn Shoot Lasers, where do I get? That's like a great pair.
Yeah, I've been asking that for a very, very long time. Do you know, as far as animals are concerned, and I understand that a unicorn isn't real, unicorn is like one of my favorite animals. I
mean, that explains a lot about you, Jesse.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean that in the most loving way. But yes, no, Jesse, when is RCI getting a pet unicorn? Like, that shoots lasers.
This is what I'm saying. I don't know.
What is space unicorn that shoots lasers, Jesse? Where is it?
Well, obviously, I mean, that's certainly on the to-do list around here, you'd have to imagine. Now, folks, we're seeing a lot of cars go wide. Ollie Mulder is sideways halfway around the lap, and that's just because they're trying to put their car in position to get around Teixeira and potentially Howling as well. And of course, all of this for position in the silver class. This is the only real close battle on the track at present. But the problem with sliding out like that is you're going to heat up the tires, you're going to damage them, and it's going to force you to go wider and wider. And eventually, track limits are going to be a problem. All these teams already pushing it in turn number 1. Some of the cars pushing it here as well. And it's super easy to get yourself into trouble, even in a 30-minute race with track limits if you're having to race somebody else. When you're by yourself, not nearly as big of a problem as we would normally see. But when we ran this track, I think it was it World Tour or whatever endurance series we recently did here, one of the things that we noticed is cars in battles got a lot of drive-throughs. It was nearly all of them that were stuck in battles got drive-throughs, and they did it in very quick fashion as well. We hope that's not the case today.
No, that's, I mean, yeah, I mean, drive-throughs, as entertaining as they can mix things up, and short races like this, they can also kind of ruin races as well. Matt and Foster getting a little bit, not taking evasive action, but Kevin Boss behind them really looked like the back end of that Mustang was a little bit loose going in under braking there. Maybe didn't expect the 44 to be quite as slow as they were into that final corner, and you see how we saw it before, that kind of stacking up. Last thing you need is doing it at any kind of real speed. So no, you're right. Let's hope to not see any drive-throughs here tonight. But yeah, given the fact that the green painted area is, it looks quite forgiving, but in reality it's really not. The track sensors, or at least where it does sense the off tracks, it is quite delicate and easy to set off. So. At this point in time, I'd just be repeating everything you've said, Jesse. Raphael Huell chasing down John Dalton. Dalton doing a really good job keeping P4 here. And something I wanted to bring up actually for both these drivers, both Raphael and Dalton. Sorry. Throughout this season, neither's really set the world on fire. They've both had great performances throughout the season, but most of their points have just kind of come again like Dorber, just keeping it consistent. No real heroics, but again, it's a style of driving you really got to appreciate, right, Jesse?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of confidence boosting if it's Dalton. We talked about that at Donington 1 week ago, how he had sort of not been around sim racing, or at least in a more permanent way outside of commentary for a while. Decided to sign up for Wednesday, and you never know when you've been sitting on the shelf what sort of condition you're going to come back to. He came back to immediate top 10s. He's ventured into top 5s and podiums here in this series as it's went on. He's clearly never really lost whatever footing he had, and right now he's going to end up side by side with Raphael Huell, the Mustang, trying to take it away from them, but excellently placed is the nearly on pace Porsche, and they will prevail here and stay into P4 as the Mustang continues to slide around a little bit.
Yeah, that's what's going to cost them time. But Richard Whittle pulling into the pits, and I'm not entirely certain why that would be the case. They were kind of running up in the midfield. It was Keith that was maybe struggling for pace just a little bit there in the 157, but the 957, I'm not entirely certain why that's pulled in.
Yeah, I don't have any information on why that might have been. There didn't appear to be any sort of incident unless they got the fuel wrong, or something has gone amiss in the real world that has caused them to come down pit lane and sort it. Could be a number of things, but I think we're going to chalk that up to some sort of mechanical issue for the time being, as at least to our knowledge there wasn't anything going on track at the time. In fact, the only contact that we have really that we haven't already seen is on lap number 2. There was contact between Raphael Huell and somebody. Let's take a look at that and see exactly what happened here. And
that's Howling. That's the 621 Jake Howling. Just a little bit of a nudge there, but nothing nefarious at all. So that would have been when Raphael actually found a way through. So, I mean, Raphael actually up the road, well, 1.8 seconds up the road from Howling, going 3 wide here from Peter Varga. Peter Varga, Lundqvist, and who is the other? That's Kevin Boss in the 31. So, very fighty towards the back here. And Peter Varga fairly up in terms of championship points as well. Still side by side with Kevin. The inside line. Kevin having to go around the outside, go around the long way. Varga inching just ahead. Kevin on the outside on the curb. Lundqvist looking to take some kind of opportunity from this, but Kevin actually, this is Kevin going for the overtakes. This is Kevin getting ahead, and now Varga under attack from Lundqvist.
They're all together here. They've been scrapping for this entire lap side by side. Peter Varga now with Lundqvist, a little bit of a hip check there to the Lamborghini. The Team Monkey racing car staying in front. Kevin Boss likes this. He'll say, thank you very much. I'll try to drive away just a little bit here and get away for the time being, but he hasn't got too far. Has the nearly, or not the nearly on pace, excuse me, the wheelie slow Mustang. Got cars and team names all over the place here today, but the Team Monkey car coming right back on him here. A little bit of a pace discrepancy. Kevin Boss gives him the immediate inside, knowing that the outside, the longer run off the corner should prevail, and it does here again. Kevin Boss gets to hang on to 13th place. Peter Varga had taken that spot away into turn number 1. He fought for it, did Boss, and the Dutchman got it back.
No, that's what I'll talk about, that final corner through the line. That later apex seems like it's the faster one, but was kind of blocked off a little bit for Kevin. Kevin having to hesitate and kept off the apex. And I was just about to say the same thing, Jesse. We're talking about track limits and the big impedance and how a drive-through might really kind of come into play. That's the 21 Mustang, Raphael Hill with a drive-through penalty. There's no live stewarding here tonight, so that would have been issued by the game, and that would have been issued for going over track limits. So,
and what is he doing, Austin? What is he doing?
I mean, he's racing
another
racing
car.
Hard. Yep, that's it. Oh, I shouldn't laugh. I'm only laughing because of like the relevance to the conversation. You know, I'm not laughing at the drive-through itself.
Definitely
Obviously,
not laughing at the driver of the situation, but it's funny because it's relevant. We just got done saying that in our experience, that's what we see here. Cars racing each other get drive-throughs. Cars that are by themselves or single file, they don't, because it is so hard to try and race somebody here for a prolonged period of time. Raphael Huell has gotten the first drive-through in about a week or so here in the series, and that is crushing for the driver of the 21.
That's it. They're going so well.
Look at this, by the way. While we're talking about this is going off. Varga got the spot back. He lost it back to Kevin Boss. Here comes Lundqvist again down the pit straight.
That's it. And Raphael Huell hasn't actually come out in front of them either. So, given their pace and 10 minutes of the race to go, then no doubt they're going to catch up to the back of all of this. And it's hectic. It's bedlam. And can I just remind you, Jesse, as well, that Kevin Boss in a different class to Varga and Lundqvist as well. So when it comes to points, I mean, there's nothing really on the table here for Kevin or Varga. In fact, if Varga makes the way around. So nothing changes. This is purely for pride at this point. But now having to go completely defensive against the 99 Lamborghini and having to make up ground on Kevin all over again. So I don't know if it's Kevin creating a gap or if it's that Kevin's been caught up, but going so well on the defense that it's sort of setting Varga back and giving them all of that time to kind of catch up again. But I'm also looking and paying a bit of attention to their lines. Kevin seems to kind of go into corners a little bit deeper. Tends to go for that later apex and goes for the exit. Where Varga, if you watch this coming up again, Varga seems to go for kind of like the early corner speed. So I don't think there's a right or wrong way. There's definitely more than one line through a corner. Both Mustangs going over that bump that you pointed out. But I mean, both still alive.
You do that in some cars, and you're going for a wild ride. It was certainly the case. The Mustang seems to just about handle it. It's not pretty, but it can take it at least. That's more than we can say for some of the other manufacturers who would hit that and start pogoing in the air, and that is not good for anybody. 11 minutes left here in race number 1. I think we can all agree that this has been the calmer of the two races. Now, will it be a chaos finale? History tells us it is, because it's the last race of the season, but for right now, everybody's settled into a battle, not missing anything up front. Joe Dauber enjoys a 4.6 second lead over Ben Rees, who has the fastest lap of the race currently, but is unable to gain any ground on the 777 Ferrari up front. Nicole Fox, no threat from them. In fact, the only threat that Nicole Fox has is in the windshield, not the mirror, as Fox is now battling for P2, unrivaled in their class. Dalton's fourth. Howling is inside the top 5, and you just saw the RPMS SimSport driver Tom Shipston take 5th place, or excuse me, it was at 6th place away.
And with that, that looks like it might be the championship for Nicole as well. They, I mean, they are, the fight for the silver championship is still on, but Nicole is quite far up the road, in terms of points, not just physically right now, but also in terms of points. So, all he really needed Nicole to have a bit of a shocker this week. But I mean, coming on the podium overall, winning the silver class, at least in race one, or at least the set two right now. I mean, that might just seal it, Jesse.
It might do indeed. And Raphael Huell, the other end of the field, trying to claw back any sort of points for the final tally. Trevor Byford, I'm pretty sure, just let them go this time through. And they will say thank you very much. And the number 21, they'll keep going on. This fight's still going on. The Team Monkey car chasing the wheelie slow Mustang. Mustang versus Mustang. Pony power is pony power. And they are going at it again. They've dropped Lundqvist by just a little bit. They get to racing. Peter will be right back in the fight. Oh, and it's a huge slide there for the number 31 of Kevin Boss, but he's able to recover in such a way that Peter Varga cannot make up any ground.
Just looked like Kevin just kind of lost it on the curb, but again, going back to the traction control format of the Mustang, it seems to have a lot of slip and comes down quite heavily. In fact, we did see Raphael a few weeks ago on an onboard. We were watching them, I believe it's been broadcaster Stewie was broadcasting, that Raphael runs with traction control off, or at least they were for that particular qualifying session. So I have heard from multiple people that is actually a genuine way of running the Mustang, and might be a little bit quicker. At least it stops the traction control from coming down so hard. That's Kevin Boss pulling a bit more of a lead and pushing Varga back into Lundqvist. And in the background, we've got Raphael Huell. So 8 minutes remaining. We know Raphael is quick. And there's no doubt in my mind that they'll be joining onto the back of this train literally any lap now. But yeah, the Mustang seems like a handful. Varga going up the inside and actually making contact with Kevin. Kevin keeping the position. I don't think Varga wanted to capitalize on the fact that there was actually contact, but has pushed them even further back to Lundqvist. And look at this. We're talking about Raphael catching up. It's only one corner away now. And Varga has all of that space to make up again. Having to go defensive against Lundqvist. Lundqvist having to back out slightly. And this starts the chain reaction all over again.
Here's the replay. Here's Peter Varga getting into turn number 2. And just a little bit of a bang right there in the apex of the corner. It doesn't do him any favors as he ends up in the position he was in anyway. All that did was upset the Dutch driver in the 31 a little bit.
Well, that's all it's got to do. Just a little bit of a tap, just to remind Kevin that he's still there. But here's the moment where it's all happening now. Here's Raphael having to make the way back through the field, hitting that curb, but actually staying quite composed over it in comparison to what we have seen. And you've pointed it out several times, Jesse, that curb is not a friendly one at all. And Raphael will be prioritising this exit, going for the slipstream down the start finish towards turn 1, and trying to eye up an opportunity under braking. But I don't think he's close enough to make that happen.
No, he's not close enough yet, but he'll get him in one of these corners coming up. He's just got so much more confidence in the corner, does Huell, versus a lot of these other cars. And you could see it there. It's just earlier to the gas. He's going to go down the inside, and he's going to make it look academic. And he might get fought back here. No, he is going to be clear, and he will continue up the road. If my eyes don't deceive me, I think Peter Lundqvist and Varga just sort of didn't defend that as hard as they possibly could, knowing that they would end up losing more time, losing sight of this battle, fighting them. Now the question will be, does Boss feel the same way, or will Boss fight Huell for this position a little bit harder? I think the smart money would be on let Huell go and see if you can maintain this gap for the final 5 minutes of the race. That's what I would think I would do, but I'm not in the driver's seat right now.
I mean, these guys are in the same class as well, and Kevin has proven before is a monster when they're going defensive. So, I mean, at this point in time, they're entitled to race Raphael like completely. I mean, Raphael might be the quicker car. Both cars getting a little bit out of shape there, and I think as we're talking about what you do in terms of making a decision, I think that choice might have just been made unless Kevin can come back on the corner exit here, but that acceleration advantage of the Mustang completely negated for the fact we're running 3 for 3 right now for those Fords as we're crossing the line, and no, that will be Raphael making that look almost easy with Kevin going off onto the curb and losing it just a little bit. All 3 cars going wide, but again, as we've seen with Raphael, you can't do that. Where did Kevin go? That was...
Kevin Boss has left the building. Pack it up. He is out of here.
He just disappeared to the Shadow Realm.
Sure did.
He's in the chat actually. They're saying that the game crashed. Either off of the great battle going on. It sure was, but yeah, Kevin Boss's game crashing. I mean, that was. I mean, in a way, seeing that on stream, it's like a well, bye, friend.
Yeah, we noticed that something was wrong, Kevin. We didn't know exactly what it was, but thank you for confirming anyway. It's going to be a game crash, and that is going to be a technical retirement from this race, and that is gut-wrenching, spending all that time in that wonderful battle and winning the battle in Boss's case and not going to have anything to show for it. That is what makes it most frustrating. You know, you almost wish, Austin, if you make a mistake, you wish it's your fault because at least you can blame yourself. When there's nobody to blame, that's the worst part.
Yeah, it's just that sinking feeling, and I don't like it. It's my least favorite part about sim racing, but I mean, I'm sure I'm not alone in that. Bruno Teixeira looking to try to make the move on Ollie Mulder. Ollie Mulder, great first lap, made up 2 positions, and then inherited a position from Raphael with that drive-through to move up to P7, but kind of been staying in position. Teixeira with a bit of a wiggle there. That's Adam Carlisle in the background there as well in the 142 Aston. But Mulder really needing to sort of pull this one through. But I mean, it's been tough, right? I mean, this race has been especially tough towards the midfield, towards the back. You know, we've just seen that massive fight, you know, between Raphael, between Lundqvist, Varga, and Kevin. So, I mean, up and down throughout the field, this race has been kind of hectic if you really kind of think about it. But again, if this is the calm race, wow.
Yeah, it's been hectic in the way that like a regular race has a lot of passing and a lot of position changes. It's not been crazy as far as the driving standards. A couple of hip and shoulder checks, the better part of maybe 4 incidents that we've seen via replay. Nothing crazy there at all. And you wonder, are they all saving it up for the finale here? But one thing's for sure, I think Nicole Fox could have taken Ben Reese at some point, but has elected to not do that just by virtue of it doesn't benefit them. So there's no real reason to do it. Nicole's got close a couple of times and just sort of hanging out 8/10 back behind Ben for P2. Nicole not trying to push the luck. And I think that's smart considering what we've seen happen to the silver leader throughout this entire championship, all the way back at Kyalami, all the way to last week at Donington. If you were the silver leader, you were never comfortable, even when you had 3, 5, 6 pro cars in between you and the rest of your class, because danger always seems to find the silver leader. So finally here in the finale weekend, I feel like Nicole erring on the side of caution today.
Yeah, last thing they need to do now is pick up a drive-through or anything like that in the closing minute of this race. But no, you're right. Like, the silver leaders had a target painted on their back throughout this entire, for the last 6 weeks. I mean, it's. I remember Nicole was in race 1 at Kyalami, completely destroyed, despite kind of coming out with these great results. So. Ollie Mulder's had the fair share of incidents whilst leading silver as well. So it's not been limited just to one person. The position's definitely been cursed this season. But 40 seconds remaining, and then step by step, right? You finish this race, you kind of take the breather in between races, and then you step it up again for one last run, one last time before it's all over. And you can kind of look forward to the next championship. Ollie Mulder going slightly wide there, looking at defending from Teixeira, and pulling still 5.5 seconds from Shipston. Shipston actually not that far behind Howling though, for the fight for P5. and Nicole Fox pulling back to half a second behind Ben Reese, and within half a second gets tempting, right? You know, especially when you're on the podium already, you kind of want to make that other step up. But I think you're right. I don't think that race is necessarily on.
Yeah, I think if Ben Reese made a mistake, Nicole would gladly take that position away, but they don't want to put themselves in a spot, and we don't know what Nicole's situation with drive-throughs or track limit warnings are right now either. So if they're sitting on 3, they can't afford a 4th one. That'll get you a drive-through penalty. So we don't know what their situation is. If Ben Reese were to put it off the track, you start talking about making the pass there. If it's safe, of course, the easiest way to pass is somebody who's sitting still or off the racetrack, of course. Well, the easiest way is when they're sitting in pit lane, but I digress. It doesn't benefit them. They're not doing it, but everybody else absolutely racing here on the final lap. And we didn't see, but Joe Dauber has crossed the line and won the race and returned back to the pit lane. Meanwhile, these drivers racing to the line. It's going to be Ollie Mulder over to Shera as they cross the line here. Dauber, Reese, Fox, your top 3. Dalton completes your pro podium. Howling and Mulder complete your silver podium.
I mean, only 3/10 of a second separating Reese and Fox as well. That was really close up until the end. Rafael Hugh coming in P12 after that drive-through. I mean, that was definitely a calm race. I could definitely see the next one being a bit more hectic. We have seen it before, but there is also less cars on the grid, and unfortunately, one more car lighter as well. Kevin Moss in the chat saying the PC's not recognizing the wheel and won't make it in time for race 2. So, that's heartbreaking. That's actually heartbreaking, Jesse.
Yeah, it sure is. Some sort of major malfunction there, and that's going to take them out of race number 1. They will not make a return for race number 2. Race number 1 results look like this. Dauber over Reese, your champion elect, getting it done here again today. Ben Reese, though, with the quickest lap of the race. Dalton P3 in pro. Nicole Fox wins it in the silver class, right? Howling and Mulder, the top 3. Nicole Fox only needs to get points in this final race by my estimation, and now they will be champion in silver.
Yeah, it's just kind of crammed it, hasn't it? So, I mean, it's been a great championship from both sides, you know, both pro and silver throughout the last 6 weeks. You know, there's been a lot of fighting. There's been 3 or 4 drivers that could have taken each championship, but it has just come down to that. So, I mean, huge congratulations to Nicole Fox with that one, and I mean, I'm looking forward still to race 2. It's kind of one last hurrah, right?
Yeah, and the question remains, what sort of one last hurrah is that going to be? Will it be a peaceful one, or will it be everyone getting their frustrations out in the final moments of the season? Got a couple of contacts on that last lap I want to show you, and we'll start with this one. This is Ibiza Racer, and see what happens to them, or maybe we won't see what happens to them. Just a little bit of contact between them, no real harm or foul, typical bumper-to-bumper stuff that we're used to. And this with Martin Foster, and I believe this is Racer. Yeah, so this is secondary contact after the clip we just saw, racing on the last lap for a position, and that's how close it got. We saw near contact with a couple of other cars as well, Teixeira and Mulder, but nothing came of that. But one thing remains clear, your winner, Joe Dauber, doing it again for Rebound Racing.
Yeah, just very consistent, and yeah, that's just kind of thing. You know, you set the count for consistency, and you know, you kind of drive within your limits, and you talk about managing the gap. But talking of setting the count to be consistent, Jesse, I swear there's somewhere we can get consistent car setups from. I've got it. It's our partner. It's our partner, Go Setups. They do professional, and safe setups for all the cars at ACC, including the Mustang. They're actually one of the first companies to actually set off with the Mustang setup. So definitely go and check those out. But I mean, if you get those, you need a wheel to race them on, right? So then you've got our partner Fanatec as well. Affiliate link in the description. They do direct drive wheels. load cell pedals. You know, you've heard of them before. Driver 61, they do driver coaching as well. We do have a discount code for them in the description, so definitely go and check those guys out as well. AK Spots help keep the lights on, and if you need something to kind of configure and set up all of that new shiny gear, that's all that new shiny gear that you've just been looking at. It's Digital Motorsports have the online sim rig builder, and you can configure everything from their inventory onto that as well. So huge thank you to our partners for keeping the lights on here at RCI and helping keep the servers running. And huge thank you to you guys at home for watching. I mean, not just this week, but all of the broadcasts that we do here.
Indeed, big week here at RCI as well. Of course, we had a huge announcement come out today that the website was going to be refreshed. A lot of changes going on there. Not anything too major there, but certainly quality of life improvements happening there. The return of a 6-hour or eSport series this year, all but confirmed by Ryan Gill. New partners and onboarding for RCI for the second half of the year. That's very exciting and potentially the biggest news that we've had in some time. RCI became a recommended community by the Motorsports UK Esports group, and that is absolutely huge to have their support. You can look for their branding in the future broadcast here. We'd like to thank Motorsport UK for recommending us as an esports community. We appreciate that. Huge.
That's mega. Motorsports UK obviously do a lot of stuff in real life as well. They obviously do a lot of sanctioned events as well for motorsports. You know, within the UK, I think British GT is a big one they've done. I've definitely seen their branding scattered around the racetrack at Donington Park when I've been there before watching British GT. So that's mega, Jesse.
Yeah, it took me by surprise, and I sort of knew that was something that was being cooked up, and it still took me by surprise. And it is absolutely an honor to be recognized by such a prestigious sort of venue and society. So we appreciate that. And for us, it just means that, you know, we're happy to have them. We're happy they would have us, and happy to continue doing what we already do. Joe Dauber in chat has said, guess which setup I'm using? And I would imagine he's saying that he's using a Go setup. We'll see if that is true. Rich says, I didn't realize Foster had such big elbows. That's in relation to the elbows out move on the final lap a few moments ago. Very funny indeed. Glad everyone has a nice sense of humor here for the series finale. Joe Dauber also, in reference to Kevin's plight, says, Toto, it's Kevin. Oh, or Toto, Kevin. Oh dear. Dear, oh dear. Dauber confirming that is a Go setup. Go setup's continuing to win races out here.
Yeah, I mean, I use them myself, and you know, you could always. I mean, I'm not terrible at putting setups together. I don't think. At least I've put setups together that work for me. But at the same time, you just hop on with the Go setups. It's just quick, straight away. You know, it's me speaking from personal experience, not just continue with the partner skit here. But no, I genuinely do rate them. You know, I've seen them rated by other drivers as well in the community. Drivers up and down the grid, you know, waxing miracles. So. Yeah, it's always good, you know, when other people are backing them up as well. As Lundqvist's a sole Lamborghini. I've just realized they're running the Iron Lynx livery, which is always a nice livery to see. I know they used to run a lot of the Ferraris in real life, but they have recently moved over to Lamborghinis. And I mean, I always thought they had one of the best real life liveries. I don't know about you, Jesse.
Oh, the Iron Lynx cars always look good, and they looked great at Le Mans as well. Just recently, no spoilers if you haven't seen that race, of course, but Iron Lynx does it up. They realize that almost better than anyone what it means to have a good-looking car. They're easy to root for, that entire team.
Yeah, it's the advantage of being recognizable, I think. And you know, I will say, like, even in the box, you know, you see some of the cars in custom liveries out on the grid. I mean, Howling is quite a distinctive car. So does Nicole Fox. You know, we were talking about those two liveries earlier on, actually. When you see them from afar, you can instantly tell who they are. it builds almost a personality up around that particular driver, right? It gives them a certain kind of charisma out on track, and again, it's important for. That is important for kind of like, as you say, kind of gaining fans in that kind of sense. So it's quite smart for my Links doing that.
Sure is. Car setting off on the final pace lap of the entire season. I can only echo what Austin has already told you. We appreciate you not only being here today, but the entire season. We hope that you've enjoyed this championship, and for more championships like the ones we mentioned earlier, you can go to racerci.com and check out all the upcoming championships. Night Owl's ongoing. A new Sunday champ starts this week, the Wheelie Slow Sunday Grand Prix, and the new Monday championship starts on Monday as well. If you're looking to get involved with championships that haven't started yet, of course, or if you're looking to join Night Owl, which already has, you could join any championship this season by going to racerci.com.
Night Owl!
You had to get it in there. That is the proper way to say it, in case anyone wonders.
It's addictive. And if you can't make Night Owl, the broadcast is always amazing. It's a bit looser, it's a bit more laid back, at least from the times I had. I've been lucky enough to be invited into the box for a Night Owl stream. And yeah, it's an atmosphere. It's a great way to spend a Saturday evening, either in the car or on YouTube. It's great.
We have a lot of fun with all of our broadcasts. Night Owl is post-watershed, so we end up having a little bit more fun with that broadcast. If you saw, speaking of Le Mans, if you saw what the commentators for many of the different countries were like after midnight in that particular show, that's kind of what Night Owl is most of the time. It gets interesting, and commentators should never be left in the box. We know this, Austin. We shouldn't be left unattended.
No, but in our defense, we were unsupervised.
You cannot leave. You cannot leave us. I said this when I started broadcasting as well. I said, you cannot leave me at the controls and expect me not to do silly things with it. I certainly will do. Final race, though, Austin. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, the best part is, like, I had a couple of people ask, this dynamic, is it just in the box? No, this is how we talk. This is exactly how we talk. When we're not on stream. This is just
Austin and my relationship. This is how it works. It's how it's always worked.
It's a relationship now, is it, Jesse?
Oh, May, it's a relationship. Okay. Final predictions as we go green. Is this going to be chaotic?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, all the way. We're waiting for the green flag, and that's Torben Rees with a drive-through straight off the bat. What is going on?
They jumped the start, Austin, on the final race.
Both of them at the same time as well. Both cars, the championship winner, and obviously Ben Rees as well. Both have rapid in terms of race pace. Both making up drive-throughs at the same time. I've never seen that before. And I mean, what's this going to do in terms of everyone else? Howling's made their way around Nicole Fox, and the confusion of everything has found their way through. Nicole actually having a pretty bad start, all things considered. I'll say a bad start, holding off the likes of Raphael and Dalton. They've fallen that far down the grid, so only really losing the position to their teammate in Howling. But again, we know in terms of pace, we do know that Nicole and Howling can fight for it. Ollie Moulton moving up to P9 from P10, stuck behind the two 720s, the 720 and the 44. Texera and Foster stuck behind the two McLaren. So Raphael, so Ollie's got some space to kind of move up through the grid, but carnage at the start, Jesse.
Absolute chaos up here, and they stayed side by side for the better part of the first sector, finally settling it out. But that is huge. We can only imagine they got drive-throughs, dual drive-throughs, for being out of position on the start or being too quick on the throttle. You can only hit 70 kilometers thereabout on the start. You can't go faster than that. And I think they were both on the absolute limit going for it. Joe's down the pit lane. Ben Rees will take over the lead, but now has 2 laps to come in and serve that penalty. And that, I mean, if they don't serve it, they're going to get disqualified. Either way, Jake Howling for Singer Howling in our racing, they're going to be your leader of the race eventually, unless Nicole Fox has something to say about it.
You say that, but Nicole also has Raphael to worry about as well, like right behind. And I mean, this is kind of crazy. I mean, looking at the bigger picture, Howling and Fox both in the same class will be leading the race, not just in terms of the silver class race, but in terms of the race overall. And Ben Rees kind of hoping for a bit of an overcut here, no doubt, onto Dorber, but I mean, it's not really going to make a whole lot of difference. I don't think Dorber just has more time to kind of carve the way through the field whilst it's still bunched up. They definitely have the pace for it. So, I mean, coming around the final, well, it's not the final corner just yet, but a few more corners to go. I'd imagine Rees will come in on this lap. They've got 3 laps to serve that drive-through, I believe. So, yeah, no, this is mega. This is insane.
Well, that's not exactly the chaos we expected to sow here today, folks. We've never seen that. In fact, in my entire commentary career, going on 5 years of this, I have never seen a double drive-through penalty for the front row of a grid ever. Today I have seen that, and you are absolutely spot on. The Bottle Job 505, aptly named, unfortunately for Ben Rees, has come down pit lane. They don't have to stop, it's just a drive-through, but that will drop them right near the back of the field. Jake Howling has taken the lead of the race, but it's absolutely on. It's a 3-car breakaway, and they're all swapping and scrapping for that lead. Nicole Fox and Raphael Huel in tow.
Yeah, I mean, talk about the chaotic race. This has got all of the recipes for it, and you say chaotic not in the way we're expecting. Well, I mean, we're only 4 minutes of the race in, Jesse. And like with the carnage we're expecting, you know, it's still, you know, it's still more than a possibility here. Nicole Fox, we know traditionally has the pace on the Porsche, but again, Howling, one of those drivers actually, kind of like Raphael, kind of like Dalton. It's been very consistent throughout the championship, and actually that's where the bulk of their points have come from. You know, no real sort of stand-up performances, but kind of keeping themselves out of trouble, keeping these consistent, and that's where you know, a lot of their championship points has kind of come from throughout the championship. So, throughout the last 6 weeks, I should say. But keeping it very clean over that bump there, hitting it quite hard though, but keeping it in check. But again, this is their chance. They're currently leading the race, but Nicole breathing down them in the final corner. But it all comes down to how defensive Jake wants to get with this.
Folks, you will have noticed over that one curve that we keep talking about, you'll notice that the Porsche hit it and the Mustang hit it. You'll notice that Nicole refused to hit that curb. There's a reason for that. She's driving a McLaren. She doesn't want to hit that curb in that car.
No, that's certain death. You're more likely to survive many other things in life than hitting that in the McLaren. That'll certainly be race over. But again, I'm just mesmerised. They're running so close to each other. A little bit of contact. That was, I think it actually knocked the 621 slightly sideways, and that's put Nicole Fox back into the clutches of Raphael Huel and having to make up that space all over again. 5 minutes of the race in, and Jake Howling, great start from this race actually, capitalising on the 2 drive-throughs of Rees and Dorber, but able to hold on to that position. Dorber actually has fastest lap of the race so far. I mean, we're already a few laps in, but again, those gaps. He's 9 seconds behind Byford. So 9 seconds of clear air until they start carving their way through the field. Again, I've no doubt that they will make that up, but there's a long way to go yet. Looking in the chat, Kevin Boss says he might be able to come back in if the wheel works again to test if it works and see if he can still have some fun. It's always worth coming back in. It's always worth having that fun. And I echo what Ada Wolf is saying, with good luck with that, hoping it fixes. Hoping too, and that's a big hit on the inside curve, pushing Lundqvist wide and cutting across the track in front of him. I believe that's Keith Whittle. Yes, it is. And yeah, that's kind of insane. And Ben Rees in the chat, while still out on track actually, so texting and driving with the big brain stats from them and Dorber.
Well, Ben was coming down pit lane while that message was put into the chat, so they had a little bit of a time. I love a driver with a sense of humor. I love drivers that own up to the mistakes or find the humor in it. And hey, look, Ben's probably going, well, I did it, and he did it too, so it's a net, it's a net neutral move, so it doesn't really matter anyway. But that big brain strat, I assume they were just a little bit too quick to either maybe they were trying to guess the start or they were about a kilometer over what they should have been at the start, because they didn't look out of position to me. They looked more like they might have been speeding on the formation lap. But what a crazy start to this race. Still the three-way breakaway, still the three-way battle for the lead here. Howling has not really put a foot wrong. Nicole Fox dancing around. Huell's had a few looks, but nothing that has stuck. Meanwhile, Fox getting close to Howling again, and a little bit over the curb there. That slows the McLaren down, throws them back into the clutches of Huell. Huell has a sniff, nothing doing there in the final corner. Taking it very, very deep into the corner there was Next Round Racing's Nicole Fox, but it didn't really benefit them as they didn't get a run on the Porsche.
This is exactly what we saw in race 1 between Kevin Varga and Lundqvist, in that Nicole's kind of like in the middle, kind of like how Varga was as well, kind of like has the pace to kind of keep up with the car in front. The car in front goes defensive, pushes the car in the middle back into the clutches of the car behind, and then has to start the process all over again. So kind of no net gain from any of the cars, because everyone's defending, everyone's attacking in some way, shape or form. So again, it's kind of this sort of stalemate until one of these cars can kind of break it, and even then they need to pull away. So this could be an interesting fight for the lead of the race, and in fact an interesting fight for the podium throughout this entire race.
Oh, Nicole Fox going around the outside. Space finally afforded them, but nowhere to go. Nearly off of the racetrack there was Nicole Fox, trying to do something contrary and something not obvious to get position on Howling. A bump draft there a little bit as well on that straight that isn't straight at all, and somehow they all survive that. Fox doesn't get in the position. Howling stands again in P1. Raphael Huell all over the back of Nicole Fox again as these cars continue to fight. If they continue to fight with this ferocity, allow me to show you a driver who would very much like to join these three.
That's John Dalton, and he's taking a look at this fight going on and looking at each of these three cars losing time to themselves.
Do it again.
And will be exactly, and will be looking to capitalize. Raphael Huell pulling to the outside, looking at taking advantage of that acceleration from the Mustang, not able to use it. Nicole Fox running so far wide off of that green painted area, and drive-throughs, the track limit warnings do come back into play as well. Raphael Huell squeezing up the inside, might actually have the overtake here, and looks like they've gotten through. Yes, they have, but again, can Nicole get the switch back? I don't think they can, but that's going to put Howling at a bit more of a risk. If again, maybe some kind of equilibrium is good for all of the. It's good for both of these backrunners here in terms. I say backrunners. I mean they're running second and third. Maybe a change of equilibrium here will kind of break that kind of one step forward, two steps backwards kind of been going on, and Raphael could put Howling under some kind of pressure that Nicole can also capitalize from as well. So this is far from over. It's still anybody's race for anyone on the podium, and Dalton joining that fight as well.
Dauber has set the quickest lap of the race thus far, down in 16th place. But talking about Raphael Huell for a second, race number 1 was an absolute nightmare for the number 21 Mustang. Could you imagine if they cap off the season with a win here in the most bizarre and spectacular way possible by absolutely ruining race number 1 with a drive-through and winning race number 2 by virtue of cars getting penalties themselves and then themselves driving up through the podium positions? What a crazy finish that would be, but still has a job to do. Has to get by Howling. Doesn't have to catch him. He's already there.
That's it, and this is where Nicole kind of has an opportunity, as does Dalton actually. But I've been doing a... There we go, there's the move for the inside. It's the exact same thing that Raphael did to Nicole just earlier on in this race. And if you look at the gap between Nicole and Howling now, that gap's been shrunk right up. So it's really pushed the 621 wide, and now under threat from the 314. I've been doing some thinking, Jesse, and I do wonder if having a car missing off of the grid is what might have pushed the first two cars out of position slightly. I do know ACC, kind of has like kind of an ordering system, and I do wonder if losing a car in round 1 has kind of messed with that a little bit and affected the first two cars. But I'm not entirely certain how that works.
Yep, not entirely sure about that myself. Just a little bit of contact early on in the race, the 508 and the 99. That's Varga and Lundqvist. This was lap 1 or 2. Ooh, a hip and shoulder check. Now, are these two drivers picking up where they left off from race number 1, as they had more contact there at the end of that replay?
Definitely racing quite hard in that case, and I think that, again, it is when the cars kind of budge up. We've seen that before. We saw it in the first race, we're seeing it now as well. Nicole Fox right on the back of Howling. I mean, historically, the McLaren having better acceleration than the Porsche, and taking a look on the inside now, running away from Dalton a little bit, but Dalton still in with a bit of a threat. And we talk about the teammates racing hard. This is the teammates racing hard. This is what teammates racing hard looks like. Pushing Howling just a little bit wide, but now under pressure from Dalton. Was that contact with Howling? I'm not sure. It was definitely contact with Nicole. And that's Dalton squeezing by, but at what cost? That's actually set both of them back just a little bit and almost spinning Dalton out entirely.
Yeah, I think Nicole expected Dalton to pick up the throttle a little bit earlier. Dalton compromised his exit there because he went in deep enough to completely clear the next round racing McLaren, and Nicole wasn't expecting them to still be rotating off throttle right there. Nearly jacked John Dalton around, but he's able to keep the car in one direction, and he keeps the nearly on pace nearly in a straight line, and he will take over fourth. So this has not gone particularly well for your champion-elect in silver, as Nicole Fox has fallen back. And the worst part for them is I think they have good pace. They just keep ending up on the wrong side of it in these one-on-one battles.
That's it. It's that kind of one step forward, 2 steps back. We're seeing it again. We saw it in the first race as well between Kevin Varga and Lundqvist. It's one of those. It's one thing to have the pace to the car ahead of you, but when the car behind is also so close and you can't find a way around it, you have to go on the attack, and you start losing time and you start falling back. Then you have to go defensive against the car behind. A little bit of contact there between Whittle and that's Ben Reese as well in the 505. Nothing too much more of that. Both cars still alive and in this. Unless there's something bigger that's happened on the replay. No, this is the replay of the overtake from Dalton, and Dalton really just kind of taking that gap, and almost Shipston being involved in that as well, almost running into the back of Nicole. So, yeah, no, Nicole just kind of stuck in this endless cycle of being quicker, looking at making a move, losing time to making a move, then having to go defensive and losing yet more time, and just that overall net loss. So it's kind of a crazy phenomenon. But again, maybe this track just kind of manufactures that. Then maybe this track, with its difficult, how hard it is to actually overtake and get by, maybe that is something that we could see more of. But for now, that's Dalton has made the move. Howling still holding first place in silver class, P2 overall, but under threat from the 5 Porsche as well.
Well, Rich in chats pointed out that Raphael Huell really needed to make that pass when he did, because Dalton was coming, and certainly that has been the case. Dalton up to P3. That's not an uncommon sight for him in his return to major sim racing, but Raphael Huell is driving away. 2.2 seconds to the good now as they continue to lap around this course. Raphael, I am not usually a race engineer, but I'll give you some free advice today. Just don't get a drive-through.
keep it on the grey stuff, Speaking of which, that's quite a wide exit. But
you can get pretty wide into one without getting a penalty. I think once you leave the AstroTurf, it becomes a little bit of a problem, all 4 off of that AstroTurf. But I think as long as you keep 2 tires on it, I think you're okay in one. It's very generous there, very stingy other places.
It definitely seems like the case. It feels a lot like Mazzano in that case as well. I know Mazzano can be very much the same kind of deal. Going back to what Rich was saying in the chat, you're saying about John was coming. On a scale of 0 to 10, I think the result of that is loud.
Yeah, he's still coming, is John. The nearly on pace car is nearly in P2, and he has certainly whatever he did not have in race number 1, he has here in race number 2. I think no matter what, Austin, I think John was going to catch the top 2 or 3 anyway. I just think the fact that they were squabbling amongst themselves, it expedited that process a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Howling going slightly wide there as well, and gifting that position to Dalton. Again, you were talking about how the Porsche holds up over time, and I mean, two very mixed results here. One car barely keeping control on that corner, and the other one getting through. Ollie Mulder still looking at Texera, still trying to find a way through, coming on the run down to turn one now. Aston seems quite well rounded of a car. You did say it's kind of the everyman car earlier on in this broadcast, Jesse, and it seems like it might be that case. We know the car has pace. We do know what Reese has done with it, but it seems to be that in a racing situation, it seems to be struggling to get by. But then everyone is. So I think that's more the circuit than it is the car or the driver. But it seems to be once you get caught in the midfield, it's so hard to break out of that. I mean, look at the fight with Nicole. Look at the fight with Kevin. You know, it's like. It's just been it's been kind of the pattern throughout tonight as a whole. So Dalton in P2, Raphael running away basically in P1 currently, Howling in down to P3 with that mistake, and just 3 tenths behind we've got Nicole Fox as well, and a lot of the cars were really within a second of each other. So this fight definitely still on, Jesse.
Yeah, it certainly is. All these cars still fighting over these positions. Jake Howling has sort of made up their mistake, the difference anyway, as they've gotten back to the back bumper of Dalton's Porsche a few times, but has been unable to make anything significant of it. Man, we have had two very interesting races, very different races here today, but nonetheless interesting as far as the racing is concerned. A lot of passing. Valencia, not really known for that. Usually it's a track where it's super hard to pass, and usually those passes are abated by a lot of contact. We've seen some of that today, of course, but we have seen a lot of passing here today.
Yeah, that's that's one way of putting it. It's been I think the second race, we're definitely right, Jesse. The second race is definitely the more chaotic one. There's stuff going on all the way up and down the field. Dorber trying to make a move on Varga. I think I saw an indication from Varga there, not wanting any fight with Dorber.
Yeah, he used the "please don't hit me" signal on that one. Is what happened there.
The international symbol of yikes.
The international symbol of, as you were, sir.
The international symbol of after you.
The international symbol of no thanks for me, dog. Yeah, I mean, it's always good to use your indicator in general. I think a lot of racing series would prefer if you do it. It's not mandatory here at RCI, of course, but you love to see it. You love to see that that racecraft whenever drivers do stuff like that, because it usually lets you know exactly what they're thinking. Howling wide again into the dirt. Nicole Fox is going to go the long way around here. The inside might not prevail here in this tight final corner. Nicole's still there, and we'll see. They're going to be side by side down the pit straight, but here comes Shipston, Teixeira, and Mulder.
Goes to show as well just kind of how how much these guys are fighting when Mulder and Texera have also caught up as well.
That's a track limit warning right there.
Very wide indeed, but making it through. And Shipson, look at the inside of turn 2. It looks like a very common overtaking spot, because if you get on the inside of turn 2, you also have the inside to turn 3 as well, and that's a really, really good setup. It does set up a bit of a switchback for turn 4, but you have to be kind of still within fighting range to do that. So looking at the order here, Texera putting Shipston under pressure, but closely followed by Ollie as well. Nicole Fox has found the way around Howley down the drag race down towards turn 1, despite going wide, will keep that position, and now it's just kind of swapped. And there's the contact, there's the teammate contact.
Oh dear.
And that's huge. That's set Nicole back.
Yeah, I think the championship might be already done and dusted regardless of this result today in race number 2, but that is not what you wanted to see. Contact between teammates, and Nicole was definitely defending there, and I just think just a little bit later and unsure on the brakes there was Howling into the back of Nicole's car, and that sent them around, now down to P9 and off the podium in their class. Not how you wanted to end the season.
No, and I mean, we'll have to do the maths. I think I know you said that it doesn't affect the
I'm pretty
championship.
sure
You
it
know, I think
doesn't
it's
matter.
already decided, but I mean, it might. I mean, that's not it's a particularly confidence-inspiring answer from you there, Jesse.
Yeah, well, my math's good on Sundays around 3 p.m. It expires at 3:01 though. I think it doesn't matter, especially since Nicole one race won here today. I would bet 92% of my retirement plan on it not mattering.
So that's still a pretty high percentage. Well, Jesse, all I could say is thank you for playing past the brain cell with me in the box here tonight. I've really appreciated it.
Always a pleasure. Bruno Teixeira, by the way, not to get lost in all this, they've driven up to P2 in the class, and because of that incident, or they've driven up to P3 rather, and because of that incident, they are now in the lead of the race in silver over Ollie Mulder, who is about 1 second back. You can see the turquoise and purple car in the background. That is Ollie Mulder. Foster in tow as well. So the top three in silver are just about back together again. Gee, I wonder where I've heard that before. Oh, that's right. Every race this season.
Exactly that. And I mean, for Texera, this is a great result, actually. Again, they've kept it really, really consistent throughout this season. In fact, there's really no driver that's really kind of not put a foot wrong. You kind of have to balance pace with consistency, and I mean, Texera is definitely one of those drivers that's had pace, especially more pace than others at times, but all throughout has had that consistency. So a first place result for them so far provisionally, with 6 minutes 30 seconds remaining of this race, plus whatever time it takes for the leader to finish that particular lap. That's great for the 720. Whilst Nicole Fox is still trying to fight their way back and recover as many points as they can, stuck behind Adam Carlisle. That's the other Aston Martin. That's the looking at things. It's the 142. So they're really fairly up in their class. Actually, they're really P4 in their class. Again, fairly consistent. It's been on the podium a couple of times this season, actually, in terms of pace for Carlisle, but now under pressure from the championship leader, which is never a comfortable position.
No, it's really not, but you talk about Adam Carlisle, they've certainly had some experience this season in positions like this, like you said, Austin, and that's really important going forward. You build confidence, you get these podiums in the class, you're racing up inside the top 10 as well. That's also confidence inspiring when you're a silver driver and you're on pace and merit alone, finishing in front of some of the pro drivers as well. But for Fox here, they just want a little bit of an insurance. They're not going to get all this back. That's too big of a gap to bridge. But they just
Dauber's just sending it. Sorry for interrupting you there, Jesse. I just saw the Ferrari just come out of nowhere.
Yeah, Joe Dauber is on a little bit of a revenge tour here, trying to get a lot of these positions back, and has the car to do it. Fastest car on the racetrack is the Rebound Racing Pensioners 777, as Fox goes off the racetrack there, and that is going to lose them a spot to Howling, I'm pretty sure. And here comes Joe Dauber making their way through, and they just about get it done cleanly, and that is 3 for 1. Getting it done is Joe, making up and flexing on him a little bit here late.
I'm still at a loss. I was just watching the fight into the final corner, and all of a sudden there's this bronze Ferrari at the top of my screen, just hard on the brakes on the outside curb, setting up for the final corner, and they've just kind of made their way through the pack of cars like it's nothing. Big hit there between Nicole and Adam. That's what pushed Nicole wide, and it's surely damage to the back of the Aston. I mean, the Aston's fairly resilient, to be honest, from experience, but the McLaren definitely more sensitive to aerodynamic damage than cars around them. So I have a feeling Nicole would have come off worse with that, but not expecting the kind of slower entry speed there from Adam.
Certainly not. Fox able to sort of recover here, and part of that is just getting it back into it mentally for the final few moments here. Still got a position or two that they could potentially gain, and that only helps them in the final standings. Whether they think it's a lock or not, you always want to err on the side of caution and get that extra insurance, trying to work over Carlisle for that spot Carlisle doing exactly what they need to do here, and they're not driving irresponsibly. They're very sensible about it. Clearly, Nicole appears to have a little bit of a pace gap, but catching them's one thing, passing's quite another, and just because somebody's quicker, they've still got to have the pace and the ability to make the pass, and preferably cleanly.
Exactly. And I've raced with Carlisle before, and one thing I can say that they're great at is making the Aston wider than the track is itself. Situations where they maybe don't quite have the pace, they've got this uncanny ability just to kind of like change things up a little bit. You get closer to them, they go defensive, and they do kind of anchor up just a little bit. And there's nothing in the rules to say that you can't do that. And I think it just comes kind of naturally to them, but it does make them really difficult to overtake, and especially in situations like this, where by slowing the call up, by taking these slower lines, by kind of, I don't want to say parking it on the apex, but maybe just a little bit, it pushes the call back into Howling and creates the fight between them, and it gives them something to kind of fight over, which gives him the clear air to kind of run away. It's actually really smart from Carlisle doing that, in doing that, and kind of helps preserve that position. And now they can just do the same thing kind of in reverse to Howling and push them back into Nicole as well. And I mean, looking up the road, you've got the likes of Dauber and Whittle, so big sandwich of pro cars between themselves and the cars ahead of them. So right now, just holding on to P9 is the best thing they could do. Peter Parker with a drive-through, and again, track limits rearing ugly head.
Yep, track limits. We had one in race number 1. We've got one in race number 2. Two different drivers, of course, on the receiving end. The receiving end given to this man in race 1, but race 2 also got not Joe Dauber, excuse me. I was talking about Raphael Huell, who got that in race 1. Joe Dauber got a drive through here for a start violation and has been driving through the field. You never want to have to do this, but in a weird way, when you're fast, it's exhilarating to drive through the field. It's like playing a racing game and putting it on easy and starting dead last. There's something about it, passing all of those cars, though I'm sure Joe would much have preferred to have 2 trophies here today rather than just the one. Joe up into 7th place now.
I mean, there's something definitely in what you've just said there, Jesse. It's kind of a fun experience, and again, it gets harder the more you move up. So, but again, it's also proving as well just how fast Dauber is. I mean, you said they've not really been too heroic this entire season. They've just kind of managed what they've needed to manage. But this is a time where we actually get to see them go aggressive and see what their racecraft can be like, or see what they can do in comparison to the cars that we do typically kind of watch. And yeah, I mean, it's impeccable, really, isn't it?
Yep, final moments of the season. Once more, just thank all of you for being with us here on RCI Wednesdays. We appreciate you watching all season long, whether you were here just to watch the stream or you're cheering on your teammates, your friends, or just drivers you like. We appreciate it, and we invite you one final time to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Our next broadcast will likely be next week sometime. There will be racing this weekend, but we will be unable to bring that to you live, hopefully back live next week in its entirety. There should be a Monday stream, a Saturday stream, and a Sunday stream next week, spoiled for choice in 1 week's time. So like, subscribe, and if you're over on Twitch, drop a follow. We would very much appreciate that. Final couple of moments of the championship and a win for Raphael Huell. He goes from drive-through to winner here today at Valencia.
It's a massive contrast in terms of both races, isn't it? And again, talking of massive contrast, John Dalton taking P2, Shipston P3, and Texera taking the silver class win. First win of the season for the 720 McLaren. Ollie Moulder coming in P5 and P2 in class. P3 in class is Martin Foster. And Dauber winning the championship, coming P7 overall, winning the first race, coming P7 overall in the second race, doing donuts with Ben Rees sliding behind them as well. So that's been a heck of a final round.
Certainly has. A lot of the drivers celebrating. Ben Rees and Dauber maybe commiserating just a little bit amongst themselves, as just about everybody has made it home. Peter Varga will be the last car to finish here today, and that will cap off the season. Austin, while we have a minute before we talk to some of the competitors, can you pick out a favorite moment of the Wednesday Sprint Championship?
I don't think I can. I mean, it started off quite explosively. You know, that early fight with that early fight with Daly and that final like last lap move. That stands out to me, honestly. But again, you know, the wet race at Donington, all the way throughout, start to finish, that was insane. So I think it's too many moments to choose from, Jesse.
Well, I'm going to do a cop-out answer. I'm going to pick everything that happened last week. Everything about that race, the weather, the racing, the drama, it was so good. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and you don't have races like that all the time. And you wouldn't want races like that all the time. They're absolutely exhausting. But I'm going to pick every single thing for round number 5 was my favorite part of the season. Up until that point, it would have been the battle in race number 1 in Kailami that I would have picked. Drama here today, though. A double drive-through for the start infractions led to Huell, Dalton, and Shipston taking the podium spots in pro. Teixeira wins it over Mulder and Foster, the top 3 in silver here today. Of course, those results and the championship results pending any post-race penalties.
Yeah, no live stewarding here tonight with this race, but you know, it doesn't mean the stewards won't be casting a watchful eye over things, given any kind of reports that come through. So, I mean, rounding that one off, I mean, it's also good. I mean, Kevin Boss, I see you with the chat there as well. You're able to fill in a couple of laps at the end there. It's good seeing you back on the server. I know it was a pretty heartbreaking kind of hit in the first race, but you got to get out there and have some fun.
Yeah, of course, also probably good for them to sort of get their sort of confidence back in the car, and also really big for a lot of drivers today to pick up wins, to pick up results here today. One driver that maybe didn't picked up a drive-through, though, Peter Varga joins us.
Hi.
What happened? Race 1 was clean. Race 2 got a drive-through?
Can I swear?
I mean, mildly.
The piece of shit Mustang happened.
Okay.
I don't know, man. Compared to the rest of the season, the car was just not working at all. I think it's gonna be easy day to day, but I guess some different things were supposed to happen.
And what were those different things?
I was expecting to fight somewhere near around the top 5, you know, the standard stuff, but for some reason, that just didn't work. I don't know.
Unfortunate.
Kind of disappointing end to the season. It was looking quite well for the P3, but today just did not make it happen.
I hear you. Austin, do you have anything for Mr. Varga?
I mean, we saw that fight in the first race between Kevin and Lundqvist and yourself. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I did not expect to see Kevin today, considering he was not in the championship all time, so that was alright, and I especially don't expect such a defense from him. But kind of sorry to, or I wanna apologize to Peter for a robust defense from my side, but I just had to be aggressive today, considering my pace.
That makes that does make sense. I think I'm out of questions, Jesse. Peter, do you have anyone at home you'd like to shout out?
Not for today's result.
No worries at all.
Well, there you have it. Peter Varga joining us all season long. Peter, thanks for coming and talking to us, including here today on a less auspicious occasion. Thanks for coming in, and good luck to you in the future in your racing endeavors. From Peter Varga to Ollie Mulder has joined us in today's race. Well, how did you see it today from your vantage point?
Calm. It was surprisingly calm.
Surprisingly calm. I mean, everything sort of happened around you. How do you deal with that on a day where you're sort of left to your own devices, but things keep happening around you? Do you adjust on the fly very quickly, or is that something that you don't focus on when you're racing?
I just, when I'm racing, I try to focus on myself. Just what are my lap times doing? What's the car doing? Race one was certainly a struggle because I didn't really have anyone to follow, and I'm not great at this track. So race one, my lap time started dropping. But race two, I was pretty much just thought about my lap times, thought about what I was doing, and it paid off quite well.
There you have it. Austin, do you have anything for our second place driver in silver?
I always suck at these questions. I think you might actually have just taken everything from me there, Jesse. But I do want to extend a congratulations on the, on the so far provisionally at least, pending any penalties, P2 on the championship overall. So huge congratulations for that, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks. It was a fun championship. It was a close one towards the end there. I went into this knowing I didn't really stand much of a chance. Fox was just so much quicker than me.
Well, it was a fantastic campaign, certainly for you. We enjoyed watching you out there. Got a couple of wins and many more podiums to boot. As a matter of fact, I think your drop round was the only time you did not finish on a podium this season. That was in what was
Monza.
that? That was Monza, indeed. You're correct, and that is nothing to be upset at. What an excellent campaign! Congratulations! And one final time, anyone you want to shout out?
Yeah, the guys at Prime Motorsport, they've been helping me through all of this, and also Reese in the Green Aston. He has sent me quite a few setups, so I've appreciated that.
Well, there you go. Ollie Mulder, P2 in the Silver Championship. Some wins, some excellent weekends. What a campaign it was. Brilliant to watch. Ollie, thanks for coming in.
Thanks.
For P2 in silver to the champion in the pro category, we go to Joe Dauber, who gets it done. What can you say about a driver who just refuses to lose? It was a inauspicious start at Kyalami, Joe, but after that, it was clean sailing for you.
Yeah, Kyalami was far from. It's a track I absolutely love, but I'm absolutely terrible at. Honestly said, and I was new to the car, so that's my excuse. But yeah, it's just got better and better. I've got more and more used to the Ferrari, and luckily a few other people have dropped out of the championship as well.
Austin, do you have something for our pro champion?
I mean, I think the question for everyone right now is what happened at the start there? That's both you and Reese both getting those drive-throughs. What was up with that?
I would say lack of concentration and also baiting each other a little bit, see what we could get away with. I knew that you have to brake boost the Ferrari off the line, so you really, it's a bit dodgy anyway. You're full on throttle and holding it on the brake, and yeah, I just pushed it a little much because yeah, it's not the fastest car off the line, but it actually made for a really fun race at the end. I was I came across a big group of the silvers, and I didn't want to ruin their race by getting in the way. But luckily, they just all kind of killed each other, and I was able to slot through. So that was nice. But when you're starting at the back, you really don't want to ruin everybody else's races. So luckily, I don't think I had a single contact coming through, so that was nice.
I don't think that you did either, and I think that's like the biggest like burning question I at least had, because from the box it just looked so spontaneous. But no, huge congratulations on the champion on the championship. It's been a long 6 weeks, but you've got here in the end. So huge thank you for taking part. Huge congratulations. And is there anyone at home that you want to share out?
Well, no kids have birthdays this week, so I have to thank the wife, because yeah, I think my wife gets a bit annoyed with me messing about, taking old cars, Jags and Ferrari 488s and things in these championships. So I took this one pretty seriously, I must say. I was practicing for the races, and yeah, it worked out pretty well.
Hold on, Joe. Are you saying your wife gets angry when you pick the odd cars?
Well, it's just I think she gets frustrated that I don't take it seriously enough.
Here's the problem. Mrs. Dauber is like, I married a winner. I'm going to need you to get back to winning. And winning is what you did this season. I just got one more for you, Joe. You're a champion. Nobody can ever take that away from you. It's documented for all time. What are you feeling right now, though?
Embarrassment, because I'm British. I don't like things like that being pointed out. But in general, pretty proud of that. It's been a good season, and I think the effort, training, and so on has really paid off. So yeah, pretty proud of that one, I must say.
Well, there you go. Champion Joe Dauber gets it done, and I don't think we could have ever seen how good of a season it was going to be for Joe after week number 1. But that's why, of course, folks, there's 6 rounds and not just one. The lowest finish outside of the drop round of Kyalami was an overall P2 at Indianapolis. Everywhere else, absolutely golden. Congratulations, Joe Dauber, your Wednesday Sprint champion here today.
Thank you very much.
Well, Austin, the championship points on the screen, and it shows us, pending any post-race penalties, what it looks like. Joe Dauber, your champion, was never really in doubt over Marco Badowski. Raphael Huell, third. John Dalton finishes 4th in his return to major sim racing in the Porsche. Behind them, Ben Reese in 5th place. Tom Shipston, Daly, Whittle, Kuzma, and Lilith, the top 10. Outside of the top 10, Ted Edwards, Redford, Manso, Malcolm, and Boss make up the 15 cars that attempted to score points. Everyone else had retired from the Pro Championship. Are you ready to see it, Austin? Are you ready to see if I get to keep my retirement fund?
Let's see if you're forking it over or not. Let's see.
I think there's a slide with a couple. Oh, it's teasing. It's teasing me. It's teasing me. Drum roll. Oh, let's go. Let's go.
You get to keep some amount of money, Jesse. Nicole Fox winning the silver championship with 621 points. Ollie Mulder coming in P2 with 597. Peter Varga coming in P3 with 496. Bruno Teixeira coming in P4. P5 is Jake Howling. P6 Martin Foster. P7 Adam Carlisle. 8th place Peter Lundquist. P9 Trevor Byford. And P10 Keith Whittle.
Well, that is interesting results for sure. Ollie Mulder. Ollie spoke like a person that thought that they didn't really have a chance against Nicole, but hung with them all season long.
That's just it. And I mean, again, looking at Ibiza Racer coming in P11 with 162 points there, so I didn't want to miss that one out, and everyone else has signed out. But it goes to show that kind of like pace and consistency both go hand in hand. And when a season is 6 weeks long, then it really does add up towards the end.
Well, that's going to just about do it for us unless Kevin Boss wants to talk to us. He's waiting in the wings about his experience today. Kevin, I'm just going to ask you one thing. I assume that there was a game crash, and I assume past that caused your wheel to malfunction in some way.
That's exactly what happened. Game crashed. Fanatec did not recognize the wheel anymore. I went back into the server. None of the controls worked. Had to relaunch the control panel. That didn't see anything. And then I was scared for a half second that my wheel was going to be bricked. But luckily, after a couple restarts and even firmware updates, yeah, it's luckily working again. Though with the new firmware, some settings have changed, so I need to get used to that. Feels a bit different, but yeah, was good to get out at least again.
Well, there you go. Just home from vacation, getting back into the flow of things. Can we expect you in more races in the future now?
Definitely. Of course, I'll be joining everyone for the Wheelie Slow Sunday Grand Prix here on RCI starting this weekend. So yeah, I hope to see everyone else and maybe some people from this championship joining as well. But yeah, today was all about getting back out there, even though it was just for one round and then even less than that. But yeah, just get back into the swing of things, and then I'll also be here for the Monday Mini British GT.
There you have it. That and more, racerci.com. Check out all the championships ongoing and upcoming. You can sign up for any of them at any time. Austin, it's been an absolute pleasure to be with you. Thank you, Kevin Boss, for talking to us, of course. But it's been a long season. It's been a very entertaining season. And more than anything, it'll be one that lives long in my mind for just how chaotic it got sometimes and how crazy it made us up here in the booth. We love calling interesting races, and every single one of these 12 had something special about them.
That's it. These 30-minute formats, you know, the 2 times 30-minute races, it hits in a way that the hour-long races just don't. So, you know, it's been a fun 6 weeks. And Jesse, as I say, I want to say a massive thank you. I know you've been broadcasting a lot this season. You've been with me here in the booth for a lot of this season as well. So thank you for playing past the brain cell with me. It really does feel like that some of the times. So, I mean, Jesse, you've been Jesse. I've been Austin.
I have
you
been.
guys
Can't confirm.
Yeah, that's what it says on my name tag. But no, Jesse, you've been Jesse. I've been Austin. You guys at home, you've been awesome. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next time.